Have you ever been in a social situation and you were participating in a conversation, a group conversation, where people's comments and suggestions and ideas and stories were just kind of bouncing around? But then something shifted in your attention and you kind of went meta, and you started to notice that the words people were using were kind of like surface level noise. Not really noise, but a surface level approximation. The individual's best guess of how to express what was really happening underneath at the emotional level. And you started to experience that emotional level. You started to be able to read and appreciate this emotional level. And you suddenly had this bolt of insight, this intuition of what was about to happen during the conversation. And you felt you had this very, very accurate, very rare, very meta view of what was not only happening, but what was going to happen. I went to this interesting seminar a couple of weeks ago. It was a free introductory seminar on how to build your intuition. And the seminar teacher just started off out of left field. It was this woman who was very, very intuitive. And usually when you go to a seminar, you walk into the room before the seminar starts, and the seminar teacher and their assistants and their helpers are up front, and they, meet people when you come in, and they talk about where the coffee's in the back, and please fill out a name tag and stuff like that. But she wasn't doing any of this. She was sitting in a chair in the front of the room with her eyes closed. And she was by herself. She didn't have any helpers. She didn't have any, the stuff was there. There was coffee and water in the back, and there was name tags, but there wasn't really any instructions on what to do. So people were kind of quiet. We just kind of walked into the room and chose our seats wherever we decided to choose our seats. And then when she stood up and the seminar was time to start, when the time came for the seminar to start, she just stood up and started talking. And she didn't start with any kind of expected introduction. She didn't start off by introducing her name or giving her background or giving a preview of what we were going to cover in the seminar. She just started saying, I have an intuition about one of you. I don't know if you're watching this live. I don't know if you're watching this on video, but I know something about you. You might realize that I'm talking to you specifically right now, or you might think that I'm talking about somebody else, but I am talking about you specifically. Even though you might not think it is possible for me to understand who you are, you might not think it's possible for me to understand exactly what your skills are, but I know something about you. I know that you have an incredible amount of emotional intelligence. And when you tap into your emotional intelligence, when you allow yourself to sink down deeper into your emotional intelligence, you can understand things that others can't understand. You can perceive things that others can't perceive. And I'm not sure if you know, I'm not sure if you are aware of just how powerful your emotional and social intelligence is. But you might remember a time when you were able to understand things in a way that others couldn't. You might remember a time now when you could perceive things that you knew were going to happen in a way that others couldn't possibly fathom until you saw them happening before your very eyes. It is your emotional intelligence that allows you to understand what people are going to say before they say them. It is your emotional intelligence that allows you to understand what people mean, even though when they think in their conscious and their subconscious minds that they are just saying random things. You have the unique ability to cut all through that self-deception, through all that self-delusion, and understand what people mean on a deep core level. And that gives you an incredible amount of predictive power over human behavior. That gives you, dear viewer, an incredible amount of understanding power of what they really mean. Any future conversations that you have are an opportunity to continuously remind yourself of your repeatedly increasing social and emotional intelligence that you can use to not only transform your own life, but to transform the lives of everybody around you. Does it really matter that it makes you feel a little bit separate from the group? Because every time you exercise your emotional intelligence, you necessarily have to pop out of the group that you're being aware of and understand the group from a meta standpoint, from a higher standpoint, from a more enlightened standpoint. And every time you do this, every time you understand this, every time you remember your skills and your abilities to do this, you gain such deep insight about the group that you wonder if maybe you were always separate from the group. Maybe in some previous life. Maybe on some spiritual plane. Maybe everybody has a certain calibration of their humanness and their spiritualness, and you have a different calibrated level. More spiritual, less human, which maybe gives you the ability to understand people better than they can understand themselves. Once you truly begin to appreciate how deep and powerful your emotional intelligence is, once you truly begin to understand the potential that your emotional intelligence allows you to achieve, you'll start to realize it's not just about communication. It's not just about raw understanding of human nature. It's not just about doing social party tricks where you can guess numbers that people are thinking, or you can guess memories that people are recalling. It's about having a deep congruence with the truth of human nature. The truth of human nature that few people are even willing to comprehend is something that you know on a deep and visceral level. That is what your potential is. And I know that you know this. I know that you have a deep intuition about this. I know that sometimes when you're listening to other people talk and you have that suspicion that you are different than them, that is not a problem. That is an enormously wonderful gift that you are maybe only now discovering about yourself. The question I have for you, dear viewer, is how are you going to use this gift to improve humanity? How are you going to use this gift to improve the lives and understandings and emotional happiness of those around you? How are you going to use this gift to increase social cohesion in ways that people could never possibly comprehend, let alone predict? Because that is the gift that you have. And this gift may have made you a little anxious sometimes. This gift has made you a little frustrated sometimes. But if you can just relax your mind, relax your worries, relax your humanness, and sink deep into your spiritual nature and appreciate things from the perspective of the spiritual aspect of you, then you will gain a much deeper understanding of what this really means.